In the heart of the Kalahari, where the sun turns the earth to stone and moisture is merely a memory, fear is a luxury few can afford. Here, life is measured in tenacity. Most creatures flee from the shadows of predators twice their stature. But one creature treats such predators as an inconvenience. Today, we witness a creature that has rewritten the laws of survival. The honey badger, a brawler, a survivor, and, quite possibly, the most fearless animal on Earth. Before the sun breaks the horizon, the Kalahari ecosystem is a realm of profound silence and bone-chilling cold. A ghostly mist drifts heavily over the beautifully desolate desert scrubland. Life, incredibly resilient, begins to stir. Tiny, sociable weavers flutter between the branches, their gentle morning chorus briefly breaking the quiet. Out on the muted plains, towering gemsbok move like ghosts through the fog, grazing quietly. Beneath the hardened earth, Mellivora capensis emerges from an abandoned burrow to greet the dawn. Armored in coarse fur, it shakes the heavy red dust from its broad back and immediately begins its patrol. The badger's powerful nose reads invisible chemical trails left by nocturnal wanderers. It marches with a confident swagger, completely ignoring a shaggy brown hyena that nervously retreats into the shadows. With massive, curved front claws, the badger furiously tears into the hard earth, unearthing a frantic, barking gecko and consuming it with lightning speed. But this meager morsel is merely the beginning. The sun ascends to assert its absolute dominance. A far more venomous nightmare is already waiting patiently in the warming dust. By 8 o'clock, the blinding, overcast sky traps the rising heat, and the arid biome pulses with high-stakes vitality. Delicate springbok step cautiously through the dry scrub, keenly aware of morning hunters. Unfazed by the climbing temperature, the badger pushes through the stiff brush, aggressively marking its territory to warn rival predators. This predatory behavior soon brings it to a complex network of subterranean tunnels. A vigilant colony of meerkats registers the badger's rolling gait and dives headfirst into the deep earth in utter panic. The Brawler shoves its thick face into the entrance, takes a deep inhale, and lumbers onward, deeming the fortress too deep. Fulfilling its sheer brute strength, the badger flips a flat red rock to expose an aggressive camel spider, effortlessly crushing its thick exoskeleton. Looking out across this deeply cracked red earth, one cannot help but be profoundly moved by nature's uncompromising theater. Every fleeting shadow, every desperately sought drop of moisture is a breathtaking testament to the miraculous fragility of life. Suddenly, a terrifyingly loud hiss vibrates from the dry leaves. A massive puff adder inflates its body in warning. Dodging a lightning-fast strike, the badger thrashes the snake violently against the baked earth. Showcasing miraculous venom resistance, it crushes the viper's spine and consumes it whole. Yet, even the most invincible brawlers cannot fight the sky. High above, the midday sun is preparing to unleash a suffocating, inescapable heat that will bring this entire world to its knees. As noon strikes, the desert transforms into a punishing furnace. Massive expanses of earth vibrate under intense rolling heat waves, demanding absolute ecological endurance. Even the most resilient giants surrender. An immense ostrich stands completely motionless, desperately panting. A colossal Kalahari lion lies completely flat beneath a thorn bush in deep slumber. The tireless badger must finally acknowledge the overwhelming sun. Trudging slowly, exhausted, it unearths a wild Sama melon. With bone-crushing jaws, it rips open the tough rind, greedily consuming the watery, life-saving flesh. Guided by an unspoken midday truce, the heavy Brawler squeezes right past the sleeping lion, utterly unbothered. It aggressively wedges its thick shoulders into an abandoned aardvark burrow, sending a terrified ground squirrel sprinting into the blistering heat. Within the cool, dark refuge, the exhausted badger drops heavily onto its belly, sides heaving with deep, rhythmic breaths. For 3 hours, an oppressive silence blankets the scrubland, save for a solitary white-backed vulture circling lazily in the hazy, pale sky. Deep underground, the Brawler rests, but the Earth is already turning. Soon, a cooling wind will sweep across the pale grasses, bringing with it a renewed, deeply violent urgency to hunt. At 2:30, a highly welcome wind sweeps across the pale grasses. The ecosystem takes a collective breath. Regulating its circadian rhythms, the honey badger emerges slowly, stretching its muscular frame and with a loud, resounding clack. Revitalized, the predator breaks into an aggressive sprint across the open plains, a testament to the stunning desert biodiversity now awakening. The badger drops heavily into loose red dust, thrashing wildly. Its thick skin acts as impenetrable armor, stripping away biting parasites. It shakes violently, blasting a massive dust cloud that startles a passing leopard tortoise into its shell. As twilight nears, a highly cautious black-backed jackal attempts to scavenge. Utterly intolerant, the highly territorial tank initiates a terrifying mock charge, shattering the canine's nerve. An African wild dog watches wisely, letting the brawler pass. Demonstrating sheer survival tenacity, the badger trails a towering quarry bustard. Utilizing its heavy footsteps to flush out a massive scorpion, crushing it with aggressive efficiency. As the sweeping shadows lengthen into a beautifully haunting twilight, the true masters of the dark awaken. And slithering softly through the loose, cooling sand is an adversary of unparalleled, lethal prestige. By early evening, the temperature drops rapidly, ushering in the nocturnal desert shift. Lowering its heavy body into a silent, stealthy stalk, the badger halts abruptly. Its powerful nose is glued to a very distinct, winding slither track in the cooling sand. Accelerating into a highly aggressive trot, the badger tracks the lethal scent to deeply jagged red rocks. Suddenly, a massive, highly venomous yellow Cape Cobra violently explodes from a dark crevice. Refusing to lose its ultimate prize, the fearless badger launches entirely over the stones. Cornered, the massive serpent throws its thick body vertical, spreading an incredibly wide hood in a terrifying threat display. A brown hyena watches the electric standoff nervously from the shadows. The heavily armored tank steps entirely forward. The Cobra strikes with blinding speed, successfully burying its massive fangs into the badger's heavily scarred face. For any other creature, this is an instant, agonizing death sentence. But the honey badger simply blinks. Ignoring the lethal injection, it launches a jaw-snapping counterattack. The Cobra desperately constricts around the badger's neck, but the relentless predator viciously rips the snake away, whipping it through the air. Slapping its heavy paw downward, the badger completely pins the hooded head to the dust, ending the brutal battle. As darkness claims the flat horizon, the victorious apex survivor violently rips into its massive prize. Marching confidently away into the cold night. He has survived the Viper's strike, but the Kalahari night is only just beginning. While our badger rests, the apex predators of the desert prepare for their own hunt. The cycle of the Circadian wilds never truly sleeps. If you wonder how the desert changes when the sun abandons the sky, the story of the Kalahari leopard, the silent shadow, is waiting for you in the next chapter. Click here to see who rules the darkness.